I publicly vowed to take devoted care of my disfigured, paralyzed wife. Despite her incontinence, the filth, her pathetic begging, and the putrid stench of her rotting sores, I suppressed my nausea to clean her body and tend to her wounds. Yet whenever we were alone, I threw her own past insults back at her, letting every cruel word cut through her like a knife. Real torment isn't a quick death. It is forcing her to drown in a sea of shame and misery until she finally repents for every sin she committed against me. My wife, Ava, was a popular outdoor climbing influencer who spent almost every waking moment on the road, constantly filming new content with her male partner. In my past life, they had planned an expedition to climb a notoriously dangerous peak in the Cascades. I felt the trip was far too risky, so I did everything in my power to stop her from going. A sudden storm triggered a massive landslide later that day, and her partner was crushed by falling boulders and died instantly. Ava never forgave me for stopping her, nursing a deep resentment and blaming me for everything. She began poisoning me in secret, watching me slowly and agonizingly waste away in my bed. As I lay dying, she leaned in and whispered into my ear with pure venom. "If you hadn't held me back that day, I might have been able to save him," she hissed. "His death is entirely your fault." I finally succumbed to the darkness, gasping my last breath in absolute agony. But when I opened my eyes again, I found myself back on that very morning. It was the exact day Ava was packing to leave for that dangerous mountain expedition. This time, I pulled back my hand and didn't try to stop her. Since she was so obsessed with those peaks, she might as well just die out there in the wilderness. "Ava, you can't go. That mountain is a death trap." Ava turned around with an irritated look and snapped, "James, what is it now? I have told you 1,000 times that climbing and filming is my career. Could you please stop being so difficult?" Hearing that voice, which was far too familiar, and seeing her face twisted with annoyance made a blinding white light flash in my mind. Had I actually been sent back in time? I stood frozen in place, too shocked to utter a single word. I tested my limbs and realized I could move perfectly fine. I was truly alive. I pulled out my phone to check the date, July 27th, 2024. This was exactly 3 years in the past, the very day I tried to stop Ava from leaving for that mountain. I was back. I was really, truly back. My wife, Ava, was an outdoor influencer who was rarely at home, constantly flying across the country to film her climbing videos. Recently, she had grown increasingly close to a male influencer, often meeting him for private climbs while never once mentioning to her followers that she was married. Eventually, her fans began shipping them, pairing her up with that male blogger, Ethan Miller. Her handle on social media was Wild Ava. I had lost my temper over their flirting before, but Ava couldn't have cared less. "It's not like we're dating, James. We're just making content. Why are you being so dramatic? Engagement brings views, and views bring money. That's how we pay for this lifestyle. Since you aren't bringing in a paycheck if I don't do this, how are we supposed to survive?" Her insults left me speechless and humiliated, though I had to admit she was the primary breadwinner. I couldn't help but remember, however, that she was the one who had insisted I quit my job to become a stay-at-home husband. Back then, Ethan Miller was the kind of guy who lived for adrenaline and dangerous stunts. His entire channel was dedicated to extreme, life-threatening challenges. He did everything from high-altitude skydiving to trekking through infested canyons. There wasn't a single death-defying stunt he wouldn't try for views. People online used to say that he was running toward the grave so fast that even the Grim Reaper had to run to keep up. They joked that his ancestors were working overtime in heaven just to keep him from dying. After she teamed up with him, Ethan frequently dragged Ava into these high-risk stunts. Their collaborations definitely worked as her follower count began to skyrocket. However, every time she returned from a shoot, she was covered in new scars. This latest trip to that dangerous peak was also Ethan's suggestion. In my past life, I felt a knot of dread in my stomach before she left, so I checked the forecast. When I saw that a massive storm was coming, my sense of foreboding only intensified. Fearing for her life, I refused to let her leave and blocked the door. Ava was eventually forced to cancel the trip, though she did so with visible resentment. We had a massive screaming match over it. Ethan was clearly disappointed when he found out she wasn't coming, but he decided to summit alone anyway. As fate would have it, the storm was even more terrifying than predicted. It was as if the heavens had opened up and were pouring oceans onto the earth. In the end, the mountain couldn't take it, and a massive landslide occurred. Ethan was caught in the middle of it. A falling boulder crushed his skull instantly, leaving a gruesome scene behind. Later, his family posted the formal obituary on his social media pages. Ava completely lost her mind when she heard the news, but she turned all that grief into hatred toward me. From that day on, she began secretly lacing my food with poison. The toxins slowly eroded my internal organs until I was confined to a hospital bed, unable to move. By the end, I couldn't even lift a single finger. My organs felt like they were being shredded by hot blades. Yet she just leaned over and hissed into my ear, "He would still be alive if you hadn't stopped me that day." Consumed by that agonizing pain, I eventually died in that hospital bed. I was nothing but skin and bones, covered in bed sores that smelled of decaying flesh. Now that fate has given me a second chance, I'm going to take it. I refuse to let my life end in that horrific way ever again. "Hey, James, has your brain completely stalled?" she snapped. "You're trying to block me from leaving, yet you're just standing there like an idiot?" Noticing my silence, Ava rolled her eyes in frustration. "Get out of my way. I'm going to be late, and Ethan is already waiting for me at the trailhead." "All right, fine," I said, immediately stepping aside to clear her path. "Ava, the forecast says rain. You should be careful out there." As she threw her pack over her shoulder, I gave her one last warning. She didn't even look back. So what? I've climbed in much worse conditions than a little rain. The more danger there is, the more views I get. Besides, Ethan is a pro. He never chokes when things get tough. As long as I'm with him, we'll be perfectly safe. Not everyone is a useless coward like you, James. Ava shot me a look of pure disgust, grabbed her gear, and marched out the door without looking back. The front door slammed shut with a deafening bang, leaving me alone in the silence. I stared at the door as a slow, cold smile spread across my face. "Ava, this is the path you chose. Now you can finally pay the price for your own arrogance and stupidity." Just like in my previous life, the sky eventually darkened and then completely opened up. A torrential downpour began to hammer against the windows. I stood by the window, silently watching the chaos outside. The storm moved in with terrifying speed, and the National Weather Service immediately issued a flash flood emergency. Schools were canceled, and reports of flooded garages started flooding social media. The wind was so violent that it was uprooting mature trees all across the neighborhood. A news alert flashed on my phone. Major landslides reported at Devil's Needle. All access roads are blocked. Residents are urged to stay away from the slopes to avoid casualties. I smiled darkly at the notification. Devil's Needle was the exact peak where Ava and Ethan had gone to film their little adventure. The terrain there is incredibly treacherous, with frequent mudslides and falling rocks. It's so dangerous that even the most experienced local hikers avoid it during the rainy season. Yet Ava and Ethan chose that exact spot for their reckless stunt, all for the sake of views and adrenaline. Just as before, the mountain had finally given way. They were either already crushed under tons of granite or trapped in the dark, gasping for air beneath the rubble. Either way, they weren't coming home in one piece. My phone suddenly buzzed on the table. The caller ID said, "Ava." I just sat there, watching the screen glow, refusing to answer or decline the call. After 45 seconds, the call went to voicemail. I didn't move from the sofa. I just sat there in the dark and waited. The phone began to ring again. This time, I let it ring for 10 seconds before finally picking up. The moment I put the phone in my ear, her frantic, screaming voice exploded through the speaker. "James, where the hell are you? Why didn't you pick up the damn phone? Do you have any idea how much trouble I'm in?" I felt a cold surge of satisfaction, but I kept my voice sounding groggy. "Sorry, honey, I was napping. What's going on? Help me." Please, someone help. Ava's voice was cut off by a burst of static. Ava? What's happening? Are you there? Hello? Help! She managed to gasp, followed by a thunderous crashing sound. The line went dead immediately. I knew exactly what was happening on that mountain. Thinking back to the slow, agonizing death I suffered in my previous life, I was tempted to just let them rot under the boulders. After a few moments, I picked up the phone and dialed 911. Letting them die quickly was far too merciful for what she had done to me. Besides, Ava had called me for help. If the police checked the records later and saw I did nothing, I could be held liable. It was better to play the part of the grieving husband. 911, what is your emergency? I made my voice sound frantic and breathless. Please, you have to help. My wife just called me. She's screaming for help. I feigned a complete emotional breakdown, stuttering as I described the terrifying sounds I had heard over the phone. Sir, please try to stay calm. Tell me exactly where your wife is and what kind of danger she is in. I don't know. She's an outdoor influencer. She's always out in the wilderness filming her stunts. She told me she was heading out to some dangerous peak with a partner this morning, but I don't have the exact coordinates. I relayed all the limited information I had to the dispatcher while sounding like I was on the verge of a heart attack. A dangerous mountain? Could it be Devil's Needle? We've already had reports of people trapped in that area. The dispatcher's voice tightened. Devil's Needle was a notorious danger zone, and most people knew better than to go anywhere near it during a storm. I'm not sure, maybe... Please, what is going to happen to her? I cried. Sir, please stay calm. We are mobilizing search and rescue as we speak. Thank you, I whimpered. As soon as I hung up, the authorities began dispatching units toward the mountain. However, Devil's Needle was a nightmare of mudslides and unstable slopes. It was a suicide mission for anyone to enter that area in these conditions. Even the professional search and rescue teams were hesitant. They made several attempts to reach the site, but were forced back by the relentless weather. Eventually, they had no choice but to suspend the operation and wait for the storm to break before trying again. Mr. Sullivan, we need you to stay calm. We're doing everything we can for your wife. However, the conditions are currently too hazardous for our teams to operate. I nodded frantically. I understand. I know you're trying. It's just that she's out there alone. We appreciate your patience. As soon as the rain lets up, we will be the first ones on that mountain. I choked out a thank you. It's our job, sir. The storm raged for a full 24 hours before the skies finally began to clear. As soon as the rain eased, the rescue operation resumed. But Devil's Needle remained a death trap, with loose rocks still tumbling down the slopes. For their own safety, the rescue workers had to move with extreme caution. Another day and night went by without any sign of Ava or Ethan Miller. Finally, the mountain stabilized. Once I got the green light from the authorities, I rushed straight to the base camp of the rescue operation. With news cameras rolling, I put on the performance of a lifetime. I threw myself into the rubble, helping to move rocks while sobbing so hard I could barely stand. Ava, where are you? Please, just give me a sign. I wailed. I can't live without you. Please come back to me. A firefighter rushed over to steady me. Sir, you need to step back. We're doing everything we can to find her. We won't stop until we do. The reporters on the scene were deeply moved by my display of grief, and they began filming their segments with a focus on the devoted husband. In the face of this terrible tragedy, we are witnessing the raw and powerful bond between a husband and his wife. Our thoughts and prayers are with this family. We can only hope that love is enough to see them through this, and that those trapped on the mountain will be found alive. After my tearful performance and my desperate attempt to dig through the rock with my bare hands, I became an overnight sensation on the internet. People were sobbing in the comments. This is so heartbreaking. It feels like I'm watching a tragic movie in real life. How could the universe be so cruel to a couple this much in love? Another user commented. Ava is so lucky to have a man who loves her this much. He's literally risking his life to find her. I wish someone loved me that much. If that were my husband, he'd probably be at home opening a bottle of champagne to celebrate the silence. Please let her be okay. I don't think this man could survive losing her. The video of him kneeling in the mud, begging the rescuers to keep going, just broke my heart. The footage of me on my knees in the dirt, praying for Ava's survival, went viral across every platform. The view counts were astronomical. I was being hailed as the husband of the year and the ultimate symbol of devoted love. By late afternoon, the search team finally located Ava and Ethan Miller beneath a pile of debris. Miraculously, both of them were still breathing. But Ava's luck had run out. Her lower body had been crushed by the weight of the rocks, leaving her legs completely destroyed. Her face had also been shredded by jagged stone. She would never walk again, destined to spend the rest of her days confined to a bed. As for Ethan Miller, he was in bad shape but stable. He was currently in a coma in the ICU, barely clinging to life. I later learned the details of the accident from the rescue workers. At the moment the mountain gave way, Ava had actually thrown herself on top of Ethan. She had used her own body as a shield to protect Ethan Miller from the most lethal impact of the falling boulders. She thought she was a martyr for love, but in reality, she was nothing more than a fool. When my wife finally woke up in the hospital, the first thing she saw was her own reflection, a face so heavily bandaged that she was completely unrecognizable. "My face! Oh my God, my face!" she shrieked. "What happened to my face?" She clutched at the bandages, her entire body trembling as her voice cracked with despair. "Ava, honey, please calm down," I said, putting on my best worried face. "The doctor said it was just some deep cuts. They'll heal with time." I acted as though I was both devastated and relieved for her. She suddenly grabbed my wrist, her eyes wide with terror. "It's going to be okay, isn't it? My face is going to look exactly like it did before, right?" I let the silence hang in the air for a long, heavy moment. "Ava, you need to stay calm. The doctor said that because you were out in the storm for so long, the wounds on your face became severely infected. The tissue has become necrotic. They said that a full recovery is going to be incredibly difficult." "No, not my face." Ava let out a blood-curdling scream, unable to process the horror of her situation. She tried to bolt upright in bed, but the moment she moved, she froze. She realized with a shock that she couldn't feel anything below her waist. "My legs? Why can't I feel my legs? James, what's wrong with my legs?" "Ava, the rocks crushed them," I whispered, wiping away fake tears as I delivered the blow. "The doctors say you'll never be able to walk again." "This can't be happening," she muttered, her voice trembling. "How am I supposed to climb with Ethan if I can't walk?" She spiraled into a panic, her body racking with sobs, until she suddenly snapped her head toward me, her eyes burning with rage. "This is your fault," she screamed. "You useless piece of trash. If you hadn't been so slow to call for help, I wouldn't be like this." Ava continued to scream, grabbing whatever was on a nightstand and hurling at my head. "Go to hell, James. Why are you even alive? You're absolutely worthless." Just as she was in the middle of her unhinged rant, a news reporter and a camera crew pushed the door open for our scheduled interview. My devoted husband's story was the biggest news in the country. This network had reached out to me days ago, begging for an exclusive live segment. The second they walked in, I pivoted, cowering in the corner and sounding like a kicked puppy. "Ava, I'm so sorry. It's all my fault," I whimpered. "Please stop. I did everything I could to get the rescuers there as fast as possible." "You did your best?" She spat, her fury reaching a boiling point. "If you had done your best, they would have been there hours earlier. If you had done your best, I wouldn't be a disfigured cripple. This is all on you, James. All of it." Seeing me tremble in the corner only made her more aggressive. "Honey, please don't be like this," I pleaded softly. The storm was a hurricane. The rescue teams literally couldn't make it up the mountain. They had to wait for the rain to subside before it was safe. Ava cut me off. "Safe? Why should they care about being safe when I was dying out there?" She scoffed, her face twisted with arrogance. "Aren't they supposed to be heroes? If they're afraid of a little rain, they shouldn't be in search and rescue. They're all cowards. Worthless cowards." I tried to shush her. "Ava, please don't say things like that. The firefighters and the police have families too. You can't expect them to commit suicide just to get to you a few hours earlier." She glared at me. Why not? That is literally what I pay them for. I pay a fortune in taxes every year, and they can't even do their one job. They're just lazy government leeches who hide when things get tough. Do you even realize who I am? Ava tilted her chin up and looked directly into the camera lens. I have millions of followers. Do you have any idea how much value I bring to society? I generate more revenue and pay more in taxes than all those rescue workers combined. I am a person of high status. Saving my life is objectively more important than the lives of a few nobodies from the fire department. And sure, they eventually saved me, but they took so long that I've lost my face and my legs. My entire career is over. And you want me to thank them? Don't make me laugh. Ava's voice was dripping with venom. She didn't have a single word of gratitude for the men who had literally dug her out of the earth. You're unbelievable, the reporter said, his face turning bright red with indignation. How can you even think that way? Those men worked around the clock in a disaster zone to pull you out of those rocks. They put their lives on the line for you. The fact that you aren't grateful is one thing, but to wish they had died instead of you. Ava didn't even blink. It's their job. That's what they're paid for. What else are they supposed to be doing? Did you expect me to get on my knees and thank them for doing their basic duties? Like I said, I have millions of fans. I'm a high-value individual. I should have been their absolute priority. Instead, they dragged their feet, and now I'm a disfigured cripple. Everything I've lost is their fault. The reporter looked at her with pure, unadulterated loathing. People like you don't even deserve to be rescued, the reporter snapped. I came here thinking this was a beautiful story about a devoted couple. Now I see exactly who you really are. I feel sorry for James. He's given you everything, and this is how you treat him. The reporter was practically shaking with rage on my behalf. True heart. Ava let out a mocking laugh. Is that what you call it? He's a spineless coward. He's been a complete loser his entire life. If he wasn't such a pathetic, slow-moving idiot, I wouldn't be in this situation right now. He is the reason for everything that happened to me. I must have been high when I decided to marry him. If I had met Ethan Miller sooner, my life would be a million times better than it is with this loser. Ava's entitled and narcissistic rant was so offensive that the reporter's face went completely stone cold. He didn't waste another second. He signaled his crew to pack up and leave immediately. Before walking out, he gave me a look of deep pity. Mr. Sullivan, I am so incredibly sorry that you're married to someone like her. I'll let myself out. I just shook my head with a weary, tragic smile. She's my wife. What can I do? The reporter just sighed. I am sorry, Mum. You've got the worst luck in the world. The moment the live segment aired, the internet exploded. No one could believe that the fairy tale romance they had been following had taken such a dark and twisted turn. Oh my God, is she for real? One top comment read. I guess true love is just a myth after all. The classic crazy wife and suffering husband trope. I feel so bad for James. He almost died trying to get to her. She's disfigured and paralyzed, yet he stayed by her side. And her response is to scream at him like he's garbage. She's a total narcissist. Does she really think her life is more valuable than the people who saved her? She should have stayed under those rocks. She's just wasting oxygen now. The backlash was like a tidal wave, with the entire internet turning against Ava Sullivan. It didn't take long for internet sleuths to confirm that she was indeed the famous influencer, Wild Ava. This made the public even more furious, and the fans who had spent months shipping her and Ethan Miller felt like they had been slapped in the face. She is absolutely disgusting. She claimed to be single for months while shamelessly flirting with Ethan Miller for clout. I actually like them together. I can't believe she was married this whole time and had the nerve to humiliate her husband on live TV. I heard James even quit his job to support her career, and this is how she repays him? By sneaking around with another guy. Under the weight of the scandal, both Ava and Ethan Miller's reputations were obliterated. Sensing the danger, Ethan immediately filmed a clarification video from his hospital bed. In the video, Ethan looked pale and weak as he spoke to the camera. Thank you all for the support. I'm making a steady recovery. I want to express my deepest gratitude to the search and rescue teams who worked tirelessly to pull me from the rubble. You are my heroes. You saved my life." Ethan bowed his head to the camera, playing the part of the humble survivor. Regarding Ava Sullivan, my partner from the Wild Ava channel, she was purely a professional colleague. We have never been anything more than friends. I truly wish her a speedy recovery and hope she finds happiness with her husband. Watching him throw her under the bus like that made me want to burst out laughing. It was a textbook move. He distanced himself from the scandal while simultaneously using her as a stepping stone to salvage his own image. When Ava saw the video, she went completely numb, staring at the screen in total shock. She couldn't wrap her head around the fact that the man she had sacrificed everything for was abandoning her when she needed him most. Ava's lips trembled as she whispered to herself, "Ethan wouldn't do this. He would never do this to me. What about everything I sacrificed? I'm the reason he's even alive right now." Watching her fall apart filled me with a dark, satisfying sense of relief that I hadn't felt in years. In my previous life, she had slowly poisoned me for this man, watching me rot in a hospital bed until I died. In this life, she had nearly died for him, gambling everything on their love. And now, she was nothing but a convenient scapegoat for his career. I held my phone out to her. "Why don't you ask him yourself?" She snatched it out of my hand like her life depended on it. His name in her contacts was still my dearest Ethan. She frantically typed out a message. "Ethan, we didn't mean any of that, right? I saved your life. You told me I was the only woman you ever loved. How can you just abandon me like this?" Ethan's reply came almost instantly. "You completely misread the situation, Ava. I've never had romantic feelings for you. You need to focus on your recovery and on being a better wife to James." Ava was hysterical, sobbing uncontrollably as she typed out another desperate plea. "If it's because of my face, I'll fix it. I'll get as many surgeries as it takes. I'll do anything you want, Ethan. Just please don't leave me. I can't do this without you." But the message never went through. A red exclamation point appeared next to her text. Ethan had blocked her number. "No, I have to see him," she screamed. "I have to ask him to his face why he's doing this to me." She tried to drag herself out of the bed, but her shattered body wouldn't respond. She couldn't even crawl an inch. She tumbled off the mattress and slammed onto the cold hospital floor, her battered body taking another brutal impact. I just stood there, looking down at her. Those legs that had spent so much time following Ethan Miller were now completely useless. "James, don't just stand there. Get over here and help me up." I picked her up and placed her back in her wheelchair, then began pushing her down the hall toward Ethan Miller's room. I was practically buzzing with excitement at the thought of the total devastation she was about to face. As we reached Ethan's door, the sound of muffled laughter coming from inside made me stop. "Oh, Sam, stop it. You're still supposed to be recovering. Put those hands away," a woman's giggling voice rang out. "Come on, kitten. You know you love it," Ethan's voice replied smoothly. "Oomph. You'd better be telling the truth. What was really going on between you and that Ava girl? The internet is full of rumors about the two of you. Am I just your side piece?" Ethan's voice was filled with disdain. "She doesn't even come close to you, babe. She was just a means to an end. You know that. Besides, Ava is a disfigured cripple now. She's nothing compared to you." Every word hit Ava like a physical blow. Her face went deathly pale, and her knuckles turned white as she gripped the armrests of her wheelchair. She slammed the door open with whatever strength she had left. "Ethan, you liar. You've been playing me this whole time." Ethan froze for a second, but his expression quickly shifted to one of pure annoyance. The young woman, sitting on his bed, let out a mocking laugh. "Oh, look who it is. If it isn't the pathetic, delusional little fangirl. Have you seen yourself in a mirror lately, Ava? What makes you think you could ever compete with me for Sam's attention?" Ava's eyes were bloodshot with rage. "Who the hell are you?" "I'm Ethan's actual girlfriend," the woman snapped back. "And I have every right to talk." Ethan pulled the girl closer to him and whispered, "Ignore her, babe. She isn't worth your time." "Ethan, how can you say that? I took those hits for you on the mountain." You'd be dead if I hadn't shielded you. You told me you wanted to marry me. Get a grip. Ava, Ethan interrupted, his voice cold. Look at yourself. You're a mess. Why would I ever want someone like you? I am like this because of you. She tried to lung at him, but her legs gave out immediately, and she collapsed onto the floor in a heap. Did I ask for your help? Ethan asked, looking at her as if she were a cockroach. You made the choice to jump in front of those rocks. That's on you. He then looked up at me. Honestly, man, I feel sorry for you. I heard you went through hell to save her. But do you have any idea what she said about you when we were alone? She called you a pathetic, spineless loser. She said even if she slept with me right in front of you, you just looked the other way like a good little puppy. Ha ha ha. He laughed loudly. Each word meant to humiliate me. But I didn't feel a single spark of anger. So what? I replied calmly. Ethan's laughter died in his throat, and he looked at me with confusion. Ethan sneered. Then I guess you like being a cuckold. If it's a guy as useless as you. Is that so? I stepped to the side, revealing the middle-aged woman who had been standing silently behind my shoulder. Her face was a mask of cold fury as she approached the bed. Well, Ethan, I see you've been quite busy while I was away. This was Monica Vance, Ethan Miller's wife. She was a powerhouse in the local business world and notoriously ruthless. She was 15 years older than Ethan, and every cent he had spent on his adventures had come directly from her bank account. Ethan's face went ghost white the moment he recognized her. He literally fell out of bed and scrambled to his knees in front of her. Monica, honey, I'm so sorry. It's not what it looks like. Monica didn't say a word. She just swung her hand and delivered a stinging slap that left a bright red mark across his face. Monica gripped his chin and tilted his head up. Tell me the truth, Ethan. How many of these little tramps have you been spending my money on? No one, Monica. I've always been faithful to you. This woman is crazy. She's the one who seduced me. Ethan immediately pointed his finger at the girl on the bed, who was now trembling with terror. Sam, how could you? The girl cried out. You told me you were going to leave her. Monica silenced him with another brutal slap. Hitting you is beneath me, Monica said with a look of disgust. Do it yourself. Start slapping your own face until I tell you to stop. Ethan didn't hesitate. He began hitting himself with full force while Monica pulled out her phone and started recording the entire humiliating scene. The sound of his palm hitting his face echoed through the room. After 50 hard slaps, Monica finally signaled for him to stop. We're done, Monica said. I'm filing for divorce, and you aren't getting a single penny. I'm taking everything back. On her way out, she glanced at Ava Sullivan lying on the floor and then patted my shoulder. You handled this well, James. Do you need anything else? I shook my head, my eyes fixed on Ava. No thank you, Mrs. Vance. I'll be handling the rest of this myself. I lifted Ava back into her wheelchair and gave her a gentle smile. What are you talking about, honey? Of course I'm going to take care of you. I'm your husband. I leaned in close, my voice barely a whisper. We have a very, very long time ahead of us, Ava. I'm going to make sure of it. Ethan Miller's life was over. Monica Vance's first post was the video of him on his knees, crying and slapping himself. She followed it up with a full audit of his spending, proving he was a penniless leech who spent her money on mistresses. He was ruined both socially and financially. As for Ava, she was confined to her room, surviving on the scraps I chose to give her. Since she had no control over her bowels, her bed was constantly a mess. I would walk into her room, covering my nose with a look of disgust. What are you? Some kind of animal. You can't even manage to not soil yourself. James, please. I am sorry. I'm so sorry, she would wail. I never answered. I just walked away. As the weeks went by, the room became unbearable. She developed deep, painful bed sores, and her skin began to rot from the constant moisture. James, please help me. I can't live like this anymore, she begged, handing me the last of her savings. I took the cash with a look of pure boredom. Fine, I'll tell you what. I'm going to put you in a special rehabilitation facility. They'll take care of all your needs. How does that sound? Yes. Thank you, James. Thank you, she cried with relief. I packed her up and drove her straight to the private facility I had scouted out months ago. It was the exact same facility she had sent me to in my previous life. I knew every inch of that hellhole because she had let me rot there. They called it a rehab center, but it was a dungeon for the unwanted. Once you were inside, your voice was silenced forever. The conditions there were brutal, and her already broken body began to fail. 6 months later, my phone rang. "Mr. Sullivan, your wife is in her final hours." When I walked into her room, Ava's eyes were filled with absolute, murderous hatred. She tried to reach out for me, but she didn't have the strength to even twitch. I leaned down, my lips brushing against her ear. "Ava, it doesn't matter that you were reborn too, because this time I was the one who won. Does it hurt to be broken piece by piece? I had to endure 3 years of this in my last life. You only lasted 6 months. You can die now, Ava." She tried to scream, but only a wet, rattled gasp came out before her eyes went blank and her heart finally stopped. I have been betrayed by my first love before, Ava, so I truly understand the depth of the pain you are feeling right now. I told her that the wicked people in this city will eventually be destroyed by nothing other than their own insatiable greed. There are no second chances in this life, and the most effective way to strike back at a frenemy is to cut your losses immediately. We do not need to keep hurting each other in this toxic cycle, so we must walk away decisively and finally learn how to love ourselves. You cannot let the malice of the Miller family drag down the rest of your years in Chicago. You need to stay away from that dark abyss and walk toward the light, because you have always deserved a life that is peaceful and full of clarity.